Good morning and welcome to AM News Network Presents The Morning Report with Rachel Baird and Ed Peruta. I'm Rachel Baird. This is Ed Peruta. We're back. We're here every Monday through Thursday from 7 to 7:30 a.m.
No, we're not. We weren't here yesterday.
But as I like to say, or at least we try to be, and we were not here yesterday. I cannot remember why. I think you were feeling a little under the weather.
I was not feeling well.
Yeah, you were feeling under the weather, and we had had a tough weekend preparing for a presentation that I gave on Monday, and then we had some expedited, or at least one expedited motion that needed to be filed on Monday. So there was a lot going on. Decided since you weren't feeling well to take a break, but you're feeling better today, Ed?
A little bit. I had some things. I had to make the DVDs for the cable companies, and I went to sleep early last night. And I was sleeping, and I woke up at midnight thinking it was, oh, yeah, I feel great. And then I went back to sleep. And so at 3:30 this morning, I drove to the studio and started working in Master Control.
Well, I want to give a public service announcement today, and it has to do with dogs, their dog tags, and bedspreads that have
loose threads.
Loose threads. And when I say loose threads, I don't mean that they're not meant to be loose. I just mean like sort of knitted or weaved or whatever bedspreads. Bassie this morning did not come down for breakfast. And I kept calling her. I went upstairs. I said, come on. And then I went to kind of pull her off the bed, and she was stuck. And so I'm going to obviously change that bedspread. I'll
buy one today.
Make sure I don't have any looped bedspreads
I will
around.
buy
So that's
one
my
today.
public service announcement for today. And Bassie is my Bassador, which is a combination of a Basset Hound Labrador Retriever.
Whoa! Our dog.
Well, I guess we do split time with them. She stays with you as much as she stays with me. That's very true. But I have another dog named Daisy, who's a rat terrier Chihuahua combination. She's an aggressive little thing. And so while I'm upstairs saving Bassie's life, of course, Daisy's downstairs going into Bassie's laundry room. That's where Bassie eats, and eating Bassie's food. Can you beat that?
And that little dog packed it all in.
She did. She did. So that's my public service announcement for the day. I ran across this in going through the pile of papers, types of breaking news incidents, and we were talking about these things Monday. And thanks for watching, as always, Gary Nance, because he made some comments on it. But this kind of describes the different kinds of breaking news incidents. It doesn't just list them like the list I had before. So we're developing a presentation about recording police incidents. We have a PowerPoint that we've done, and we're going to keep improving upon it. And we hope to make it...
Refine it.
Yeah, we've gotten a really good start thanks to Dan, thanks to Teresa, thanks to you. It's been a real group effort. And we're going to keep working on it and perfecting it. And I think I would really enjoy going out and giving presentations to groups about this emerging issue, given our experience in it. I'm an attorney, but I feel like I've had direct experience in it, going out with JC, Playford to video scenes out in California, going out with you, obviously, in Connecticut a lot. So I feel like I have a good perspective on it.
Well, you didn't get to where you are on gun issues, firearm issues. Just jump into the pool, firearm pool, and start swimming. You acquired more and more information as you were involved in it, to the point where when 2013 ran around and the legislature was trying to pass laws, you right away saw the holes because you had the knowledge behind you and say, well, that's not going to work.
You have said over and over again, and it's really become clear to me, and I don't think you're exaggerating at all, that police officers are as concerned or more concerned about camera and videos issues, or video issues, than they are about firearms issues now. Cameras are as dangerous, in a manner of speaking, to a police officer's job and career. More damaging.
Can inflict more damage.
Right, to a police officer's job and career on a more frequent basis than firearms.
Well, let me, and this message goes out to Chuck Michelle in Long Beach, California, the attorney that I worship for his work in my firearm case. He at one time had contacted me because he was actually doing a book and wanted when I said law enforcement now sees a cell phone camera or a camera like it's a firearm.
Let's put it this way, like it's a weapon to be used against them.
Right.
I think that's a good way
Right.
to put it, because I don't want to diminish the harm that a firearm can do to a police officer or anybody who's mortal, which is all of us. So I don't want to diminish that. So let's say that cameras and video recorders are looked at as weapons in a way by many in law enforcement. Weapons to be used against them.
In Connecticut, you can be charged with carrying a dangerous weapon, and the weapons are defined. But then there is also a dangerous instrument. And it's something that wasn't designed to be a weapon, but in fact is used to inflict like a weapon, instrument. So I think that law enforcement looks at cameras as a dangerous instrument.
And you know what I find too, Ed, is you've run into this in the courts. The prosecution, the court, they're all concerned about the victim rights. And then when you talk to the actual victim, they're like, I don't care if you record me. I want you to record me. Put my freaking statement out on the internet. I want everybody to hear about it, what happened to me and my family. You know, you see it on Dateline. You see it on 8 Hours. You see it everywhere. I watched a episode about the Pamela Smart trial back in, God, it must have been the early 90s. They said it was the first gavel-to-gavel televised trial. That was that Derry, New Hampshire case where the teacher was having the affair with the kid, and she made arrangements with the kid and two of his friends to kill her husband, and then, you know, and she was attractive, so it got all this press. Well, and they showed they showed those juveniles testifying. I think they had pictures of the jury. I'm not sure. I may be confused now with another case. And I have firsthand experience with this. Oh, you can't show any member of the jury. The jury's sacred, whatever. We were videoing recording a trial up in Bantam. And there was an inadvertent...
an animal cruelty trial.
Because it was a very small courtroom. I swear, it was probably as small as a studio we're in right now. And the way
you got to make people believe we're in a huge studio.
And okay, well, and the way they placed the camera, and the court placed the camera there, was right in line with the jury. Jury's bopping around. They get up. They do whatever. They get up, and so one of the jurors was inadvertently shown in the video. Oh, it was just a big deal. Oh my God, the end of the world. Well, you know, people come and sit in that courtroom and look at the jurors right there, and so, and then get this, in Connecticut, they individually question the jurors before each trial. And it's on the record, it's in a transcript, and prosecutors ask them, you know, have you ever been arrested? Have your kids ever been arrested? Does anybody you know ever been arrested? They ask, both attorneys ask all these personal questions, and it's right there in the record. And I believe there should be a law in Connecticut where you're not allowed to ask potential jurors if their kids have been arrested or anything like that. Number one, because it's confidential. Juvenile arrests are confidential. What if a case has been dismissed? Then you have a right in Connecticut to answer under oath that you've never been arrested. These people aren't informed about that, so they are invited to spew out they are invited to spew out all this confidential information about their family members. It's almost like Nazi Germany. You know, tell on your family, give the government information that you don't have to about your family. Nobody cares about the jurors at that stage of the proceedings. Oh, but then when cameras come in the courtroom, oh, we're all concerned about members of the jury now. Oh my God, there was an inadvertent show of one of their faces. Well, when that happened up in Bantam, they had a hearing on this inadvertent show of a juror. Every one of those jurors got up in the box, and the judge, number one, he asked them their names. So, and this is all on the record. So here's their name on the record. And then to the last one of them, they all said, yeah, we saw the camera in the courtroom. You know, we just assumed we were going to be videotaped. Did you have any concerns about it? No. Every one of them answered that. And so when the courts and the prosecution are so concerned about victims and jurors, are they really concerned about the victims and jurors? Or are they exploiting them and using what they say are their concerns for their own benefits? And I'm getting back to the cops now. When cops are so concerned about the privacy issues of this person and that person, are they really concerned about the privacy issues of this person or that person? Or are they concerned about themselves? You know, when you just are so concerned about somebody else and everything, but it benefits you, are you in fact exploiting that person for your own benefit? So that's my question. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say something, but it's so far back in your presentation.
Well, go back.
When you're voir diring or asking questions of a juror, the juror does not understand the law and the laws of privacy and dismissal and erasure, and you don't have to say, and all you're doing is creating a record where somebody can look at it 100 years from now and say, oh yeah, Ed Peruta's son got arrested for this, and this, or he was in juvenile court for that. You know, and because you want to answer correctly, you want to be forthright when you're asked the question, but nobody forewarns you of what you don't have to say.
Prosecutor doesn't give a shit about jurors when they're asking potential jurors, about their private lives. Nobody cares about the privacy of jurors at that stage, but at other stages, we're all concerned about them, right?
I'm going to go out on a limb here and send a message to Dave Shepak.
Well, don't send any message on my behalf.
No. Dawn Gallo. And I don't know what the victim's advocate's name is, who were opposed to certain videotaping in the Harel Patel trial, Patel 2. And I think it's time for me to say this. The victim's advocate has stated her animus towards me and American News and videotaping in the courtroom to the deceased individual's father. And because of what has happened in Patel 2, I didn't put anything really up on the internet. If I have received one, I have received 50 phone calls from the deceased victim's father, leaving voice messages, asking that the video of the sentencing be put up on the internet for his family and family acquaintances can view. I'm not answering his phone calls. I can't talk to him. I'm too upset because he had an opportunity to say to the victim's advocate, I want my impact statement recorded. I want it up on the internet. I want the world to hear what I have to say. Say it to the victim's advocate. Say it to the prosecutor. Say it to Judge Danaher.
But he didn't.
He did not.
And so the victim advocate and the prosecutor and the court are left with the impression, maybe they're left with the impression, who knows, maybe they know the truth, I don't know. But let's just take it at face value and say they are left with the impression that this victim's relative does not want what he said, does not want his image
According
portrayed.
to the victim's father. he has made it known to the victim's advocate. He said that he asked her, why isn't it up on the internet? And she had to come back and say, well, I don't know. I don't know. I'll see if I can find out for you. She didn't ask me anything. Now, just hear me out. He has had communications with her, and I'm sure that she was not representing the interest of the deceased individual's father as a victim's advocate.
Well, it's important to remember that when you go to court, there may be many people involved in the court system that represent themselves as being there for your interest. But they're not. They're there for their own interest. You only, and then you still have to be careful, but only if you hire somebody, an attorney, is that person there for just your interest. They should be. I'll put it that way.
Let me just add,
victims advocates are there to continue the need for victims advocates.
I did have a conversation with the deceased individual's father. It's very brief, very, are you going to be putting it up? Why aren't you putting it up? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the conversation went around. Here's what he said to me. He did not want them to know that we were talking because of the animus that they had towards me and American News and the camera, and he felt that if he advocated that they would take it out on him and not share information with him, that he would be the victim of the victim's advocate, the prosecutor, the judge, whatever.
In other words, it's not about him. It's about, are you on our team or are you on their team? And if you're not all with us, if you're not all on board with us,
don't bother me.
We don't care if you're a victim's relative or not. Go
don't
pound
bother
sand.
Me.
Right.
Right. And, I have kept my mouth shut since January.
But you have to speak out, Ed, because if you leave it the way it is now, then, the state and the courts and the victim office, they just go on their way saying, yeah, victims don't want anything out there. They don't want their voice to be heard. They don't want anybody to know about what happened to them. They want to hide. They, all this stuff. They need to know for the future that there may be other victims out there that are afraid to speak out because they don't want to lose the support of the state. Maybe victims are afraid if they don't do exactly what the state wants, then the state won't prosecute, then the state won't, do what it's supposed to do. Maybe they're afraid.
I may attempt to speak to Judge Danaher. There's nothing pending, but I will go to Brandon, the clerk, and say, I need to speak to Judge Danaher.
Well, there is the appeal that the state is...
I understand that, but I think that Judge Danaher has absolutely no knowledge of the desires or the wishes of the victim's father. No one has said it to the judge.
I mean, this thing of using victims, of using the issue of privacy by the state and by law enforcement to shield themselves from public view has to be stopped.
Control the narrative.
Right. Control the narrative by claiming, no, it's not about me. I don't mind being out there on public view. It's all about the victim.
And let me tell you how that works. You have a the state rests their case in a criminal trial. The transcript has not yet been typed. If the reporter wasn't in the courtroom, like Bridget Ruthman sits there and listens, if the reporter is not in the courtroom, they approach somebody to get sound bites or the story. They go to the defense attorney. They go to the prosecuting attorney. And they say, what happened in court today? And the prosecutor gets to control the narrative of what's going to be in the paper because they don't have the transcript yet. Now, the defense will say one thing and the prosecution will say another. But both attorneys are controlling the narrative. You don't see for yourself what happened in the courtroom. You don't have to read the paper. Watch it, understand it, whatever. But I don't think that Judge Danaher understands, and I'm going to go out on a limb here. I think that Judge Danaher would be concerned if he knew how many times that victim's father has called American News asking for that video to be put up on the internet. It's out of control. And
I think anybody in the judicial system should be concerned when a victim is afraid to express his or her true feelings to the victim advocate and to the prosecutor and to the court because he or she is afraid that the court, the prosecutor, and the victim's advocate will
ostracize
him or her differently. That's what I think.
And when the media committee meets, I'm going to walk in and I'm going to tell them about Patel too. I'm going to walk in and I'm going to tell the media committee.
Yeah, we missed their last one.
Well, I had surgery. I had surgery.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't.
No, we did miss it. But I'm just telling you that, I think that the media committee needs to hear it. Judge Danaher needs to hear it before the media committee hears it. But they got a new courthouse going up. I mean, I would like to do trials in the new courthouse because it's obviously a different environment. But I couldn't keep my mouth shut with everything that's going on and this, the seminar you gave to law enforcement, cameras, no cameras, this, that, and other thing, body cameras. I couldn't keep my mouth shut anymore. That it really is a situation where, and you couldn't say to the people at the New Britain Police Department, let me tell you a story about a victim's father. Calling up 50 times asking for the tape to be put up on the internet. Well, part of putting up the trial tape is presenting to the public the full exhibits that were presented in the courtroom. In other words, when you videotape a trial, and I know you know this, Rachel, I'm saying this for the people on the other side of the camera.
No, I know.
When you videotape a trial gavel to gavel, you attempt to give the people on the other side of the camera an exact duplicate of what occurred in court. And that includes photographs of a dead body.
Well, but the court censored, and I'm going to use the word censored.
It did.
The sentencing as well. Not the sentencing, but the sentencing where the victims speak out. That was entirely censored. And to expect, to expect a news organization to post something that was censored so heavily that is viewed as an affront to the victim family when the victim's family actually wants it out there, I mean, that's asking too much of a news organization. Plus, it perpetuates the injustice that the court, the victim's advocate, and the prosecutor are doing by pretending that they are representing what the victim wants.
Let me tell you what.
It's almost like when the Attorney General's office files things on behalf of the Board of Firearms or other state agencies without ever having spoken to anybody at the state agency about it.
Let me get this in. What I did not know during the first Patel trial, and I found out during the second Patel trial, was that a pretty prominent mainstream print media in the Northwest Hills, there's a conglomerate of local area newspapers, Lakeville Journal and whatever. I was speaking to the editor of the publisher, and it was only then that I was told, didn't know it, that they were watching the tapes on YouTube. The print media was watching my tapes, and they were giving credit to American News and putting a link up to watch the video.
Oh, I did not know that until right now. I didn't.
And I didn't know it until I was told. So, was I or was I not performing a service? Now, granted, Bridget Ruthman goes in and sits in the courtroom every day. But the people that don't have the financial resources to send the reporter, when you videotape something during the day and you put it up next day, it's still ripe for the news cycle, and the print media can sit there and watch it, report on what they see in the video, and then put a link to let everybody go watch it.
Well, the difference is, are you going to read in the newspaper what people write about Charlottesville, or are you going to go to Facebook, you're going to go on the internet and watch what's happening in Charlottesville?
I need to say something.
Please.
I need to say something else. Dan, can we go to 7:45 today? The reason... No? Okay.
Why?
All right.
Why?
No, because
Why?
we missed a half an hour block, and if you do 2:45, never. That
let's
doesn't
not
matter.
do that.
Then we got to close it now.
Okay, we will see you tomorrow. We're looking forward to Chris Janko being here.
I will not be here.
Okay, Chris and I will be here. See you tomorrow.